Aloha in this late night evening that is before midnight. I wanted to celebrate a win today. Um, and it was, to be fair, a win from the other day as well. So I came along to the Dark Eros Intensive Weeks retreat here in Czech Republic at the Centrum Transformace. I guess it's the Center for Transformation, under the guidance of John Hawken. And yeah, it always is an amazing, transformative, powerful experience this week. I know it is because I have experienced the power of deep diving into these mysterious, I suppose, corners of our psyche and our physical, emotional, and intellectual aspects of our being and consciousness. The win that I'm celebrating is that I didn't expect this before I came. I came as an assistant, and there was another assistant here. There is, along with a translator, because the entire week is in the English language and the Czech language, and maybe some other ones floating around as well. But yeah, I was invited to facilitate a couple of group sessions, and it was brilliant and really exciting. The first one was on, I think, I'm pretty sure it was on the Wednesday night. No, I think it was the Thursday night because, yeah, in the morning we had the follow up. So today is Saturday night. So it was Friday morning that it finished up, the Bazaar. And that morning, actually, it was when I held the space for the women, as we refer to them here as the Shaktis, to do their thing. So I won't spoil it for you in case you come to Dark Eros. And it was so beautiful, so heartwarming. Pause for a second. Yeah, what was interesting was that my experience of this event was, as I looked around the room, I could see that, was it 8 women? So there was 9 other women besides myself, and that it felt like I was observing signs of physical exhaustion. And so, yeah, I was aware that in observing, there was a part of me that felt a bit like, oh, like deflated in a way, to see some of the women kind of like laying back, and not everybody like sitting up, to attention. And even though in my mind I knew I'm more than happy. I want people to be physically comfortable, to be in whatever position they want to be. Like, for example, if I'm lying down, that I feel like I'm relaxed enough that I can lie down during a lecture or whatever other event. Anyway, I did my thing nonetheless, and just inviting the women to tune into themselves and what they were doing, where they were, and then to each other, and yeah, I suppose the pulse of life. Can I be any more abstract? But it was a concrete thing to me. Before receiving our beautiful men, the Shivas, in this experience of Bazaar. Again, no spoilers. And yeah, I felt it was lovely, and they did their thing, and we made the use of our time by setting up what was to be a really exceptional bazaar from the Shaktis. And I was aware that I couldn't push it away. I couldn't edit or neglect it out of my consciousness, but I felt this real strong sense of pride, of just this pride welling up in my chest, of of these beautiful women. Some of them really young, I feel, and some of them, really, really younger. And yeah, and I know there was a level of perhaps nervousness or anxiety, and most of the women, first time attending Dark Eros, first time doing the Bizarre Bazaar. And yeah, they had it all worked out. I can take no credit for how brilliant it went. They just had already worked out what they wanted to do, what they wanted to offer. And it literally was like I was this lantern man or lantern woman on the road, just accompanying them to remind them, it's not just about I mean, yes, to be of service, and a major part of that is in really finding and aligning with what truly brings joy to you, to your heart, not just an intellectual exercise, but that in your body it feels like joy and inspiration, and you can't wait to do it. And and knowing that, yeah, the all different backgrounds, nonetheless, it was so beautiful. And I guess, to be fair to myself, I guess I knew at some level, like the I'm nearly wanting to call it cabaret, but it's not quite a cabaret. Tonight I just knew, and I was just talking with the other assistant about this, and of course they're coming from their perspective, but I was being quite upfront in saying, yeah, I know I'm actually quite cocky and like overconfident. I just know that it's going to be beautiful and a brilliant night when everybody shares the little erotic scenarios that they've devised. And sorry about that spoiler, but yeah. And so as for the Bizarre Bazaar as well, I know that that's just always going to be so beautiful. And I guess my limited experience of Dark Eros has been, well, this time, as an assistant, having the overview of all the participants and feeling like, well, sure, this group, it's no more special than any other group that comes for Dark Heroes, right? Except this particular group had witnessed this major rupture, not just like one participant leaving, needing to leave, but two participants and their child and their babysitter, well, not all of them equally, but certainly there was one strong person amongst them that said, we prefer to leave, to take our experience and take back the money that we paid and go back home, rather than completing day 2 and the rest of the week with us. So, that caused a major, that was a major disruption. I think it was handled pretty exceptionally well, actually, to be fair, to John Hawken, who, I mean, he's a new, strong personality in my life, strong man, person, and the people here, in the lineage of the Pathways of Transformation Tantra Academy, yeah, there's something really special that's different here in Czech Republic. Something really palpable when it comes to like the tradition of the way things are done here. It's not just due to John's old school way of operating, but yeah. So this group, it's interesting that the morning after the couple left, there was still a lot of like unsettlement and ruffled feathers like in the air, and not without really explicitly speaking to anybody about it. Like for me as an assistant, just had to do what needed to get done, and make it as smooth a transition as possible without losing time and losing time, resource for the rest of the participants that had chosen to stay. So I really feel it went off so smoothly, and those of you who wouldn't know otherwise would say, well, of course, he's a professional and he's running a professional course here, knows what he's doing. Yet from the inner circle, I know that there's actually, it's a difficult time on the personal front. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of moving parts in the machine, as it were. So perhaps one didn't have the full, measure of resources and resourcefulness or self-confidence even, or even self-belief that normally would be available. That's just my kind of armchair mother just observing and noticing what I feel to be true in the field. May not be true. But yeah, so I feel like, that was handled pretty well, transitioned well. And I felt, the next day that, what, crazy thought, but you know how they say like turn every unfortunate into a blessing. And I felt like, yeah, this little family leaving in such a major way, things were moved around to accommodate them before they left, in hopes that they might recognize the value and the reason why they took so much trouble to attend in the first place. And what I was saying was just that I felt like, I don't think I'm being too kind of quaint or cliched when I say I really feel like there's a strong element of, this component of this rupture has perhaps bonded this group more closely than normally, would take place. And so into that, I got to hold the space for the women, for the Shaktis in the Bazaar. That was beautiful. And when we shared the next day how it was for us, I did say I had to chime in. I nearly wasn't, because I was questioning myself on that. So let me explain. So as we shared around, I didn't think I was going to share anything, because, let the participants speak how it was for them. And so beautifully spoken from the Shivas and the Shaktis, from the men and the women. But when my colleague, the other assistant, spoke up, and he said he felt such pride, or sorry, I'm misquoting now, but the word pride came up not once but a couple times. So then I had to just feel like I wanted to share as well. And only now that I'm verbalizing it out loud am I realizing that, yeah, that could come across like competitive or something. But actually, in the moment, there was no notion of competition or any sort of comparison. Just felt like, this is so true for me. And I didn't intend to share, because I was questioning myself, this sense of pride. Like, what does that mean? Do I own these women? Are they my possession? Or, is this like my part of the workshop because I happen to be invited to lead the women or hold the space for the women? And I decided to just like, well, whatever, just put that all aside, and whatever. The truth is, like, there was a pride welling up because of, seeing these women that were unsure and like entering into a new experience, and yet they just, they really made it their own. They found the motivation and the inspiration, the joy, the delight, the pleasure, and the fun and the creativity and the variety. There was no, I just had to write down the names of things. There was no need to be afraid that there was duplicate events being offered. Anyway, I've said too much, in danger of spoiling it. And the other related win is a similar thing, just being invited today on this last full day. I don't know the name of the structure we were introducing to the participants today, but it's quite a long and involved one in a way, even though it doesn't necessarily take up hours to complete it. The fact is, we had 4 different groups to facilitate. So we had to go through the whole process 4 different times, divided by the lunch period. And so the first time, John led it, as you would expect. The second time, he asked Bodhi if Bodhi would like to lead it. Bodhi is my colleague and senior assistant here for Dark Heroes. And then we had the lunch, and then John came back in for the 3rd round, and then in the middle of the 3rd round, he just got my attention and said, Penelope, would you like to lead the 4th round? And so I was just like, of course, Penelope needs to be really clear, and I probably said back, the last round? And so, yeah, I went for it, and yeah, had a good old pep talk with myself while sitting there, even though, like, yeah, I've facilitated groups in the past, but it was, but I don't now normally. Well, not consistently, and, yeah, I suppose it's fair enough because, this is somebody else's baby in a way. Okay, I'm an assistant. But still, you don't want to drop the baby. You want to render it with the same consistency of high quality transmission. And then the ego and the ego and like this, like I mentioned earlier, the sense of vanity of like, oh me, I'm going to, it's kind of all happening at once, especially if you can appreciate that I didn't know I'd be doing this before I came. And it's a structure that I've only just learned myself. I guess I must have done it Dark Heroes the last time. Things do change from retreat to retreat, so it's not necessarily the same 7 or 8 different structures that are taught at every Dark Heroes intensive week. So anyway, yeah, it's 16 minutes long, this video right now, so I'm not going to go on too long, but just to say, I asked if it was okay to keep my phone with me to keep an eye on the time like that, because John has been encouraging us to rely on our bodily sense of timekeeping and organic sense of time. And actually, he stayed, and which I hoped he would at first, and really it just fell into place for me. It felt like he was nudging me, giving me the kind of hand signals that I never learned formally, but in the moment looking at him thinking like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and then getting the thumbs up, not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but more than 3 times. So that's a total celebration. Here I am, sad creature. All the participants are celebrating downstairs, I hope, I presume, with the fire. And I'm here in my bedroom. But it is the last night, and I'd say it's after 11 p.m. now. And it's leaving day tomorrow, so I'm doing a wise thing, showing myself some self-care and self-love. I don't know if I'll actually go to bed here, wearing my fancy clothes. But yeah, I'd like to perhaps go for one last walk here before I dash away to Prague for the night and then fly away back home the next day. So just to say, miracles can happen. I definitely did feel this nervousness, anxiety, stage fright, thingy, but I determined to just squash it down and acknowledge. I didn't even think of it, but I could have said to myself, excitement is energy with no home. I did say it to myself the other day when John had voiced that, talking about excitement, no, nervousness. Anyway, I'm totally muddled with my words now. My brain feels like it has 2 left feet. So yeah, I would have ended this earlier, but I feel like I just want to make sure I include all the worthwhile points that you'd want to know if you came on here to celebrate with me and to hear what I have to say about it all. So yeah, okay, one last note is I acknowledge the reputation of John Hawken is that of being quite a taskmaster, perhaps, and old school. And yeah, I agree with those. And so I was suitably intimidated by the prospect of taking over for him. And yeah, so that's the personal part of it. The professional side is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, really, really needing to know that I was capable of holding a consistent, titrated, integrous space for the participants, just to keep it like it has been streamlined. And in a way, yes, so the 4th round, so it's not like we don't know what we're doing, I'm just there to, what's the word? To just give the nudge. I can't even think of these basic words now, to be the sort of reminder. And it went great. You know, John was very kind, just giving me little hand signals. He probably says he's not being kind. He was just kind of wanting to see it move on. And I, at one point, I damaged my teacher by when he had indicated, he did this signal that was like, I understood it meant time, prepare for the time to finish. Or at least that's what I thought in my head. His critique for me, the constructive feedback was, you say, prepare yourself to do this now, prepare yourself to do that now. Just stand up, finish now, so be really direct. And this ties in with my other training, the year-long training, the field facilitator training, where they framed it in the context of masculine and feminine. And when you're facilitating and holding space, when it's more of the masculine energy coming in to be direct and get out those indications, those directions, those directives, as opposed to the feminine dynamic coming in, care of the participants and all this kind of heart-centered piece for the facilitator. And another participant had said that she felt she didn't have enough of the masculine in her facilitation. And I'm thinking like, yeah, probably me as well. For different things, like when it comes to dance, music, singing, arts, then I have a lot of masculine. When it comes to everything else, things to do with more of a kind of, I suppose, not artistic, not concrete kind of thing, then I'm a lot less masculine, I suppose. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really grateful. Mostly to John Hawken for inviting me, and equally to the participants for having me, the participants for receiving me. And yeah, it was a powerful structure and so beautiful. I really feel like they were holding me without holding me, just really receiving this this presence to lead them through the structure, this last fourth round. So those are my wins for today. And God knows, I might be celebrating another win that is going to bed before midnight tonight. Who knows? All right. Thanks for celebrating with me. And as ever, I welcome any feedback and thoughts here in the comments, or wish you well. All my love.